The McLaren F1 didn't arrive to play fair. It arrived with a central driving position, a bespoke BMW V12, and a design brief that read like a dare. The ultimate road car, built without compromise, even if that meant lining the engine bay with gold. But the real twist? The F1's wildest stories aren't the ones you already know. The top speed run, the Le Mans victory, the auction prices. The rabbit hole goes deeper, into secret upgrades, orange unicorns, and a debate that still splits collectors today. And that's before you meet the F1 LM. But the F1 wasn't born for folklore. It was built with a very specific obsession. Gordon Murray wanted balance over bravado. A car that felt predictable at 10/10s and magical at 6. No gimmicks. No driver aids. Just response. So he pushed the driver into the center. Visibility improved. Weight balance improved. The cabin became a cockpit. 2 passengers flanked you like co-pilots. Sounds theatrical. It was just smart. Weight was the religion. Titanium tools in the kit. A special Kenwood CD changer made lighter, because regular ones were too heavy. If a washer could be shaved, it was shaved. Some parts were borrowed, not because they were cheap, but because they worked. The rear view and wiper stalks came from period BMWs. The mirrors? From the Volkswagen Corrado. The side windows were split so only the lower section could drop, adding rigidity for triple-digit blasts. There was one sun visor in the entire car. One. Every F1 was fitted to its owner. The driver's seat was fixed. The pedals could be set. The steering column position was tailored. This wasn't adjustable. It was bespoke. Then there was the support plan. A factory modem so McLaren could diagnose issues remotely. Ancient tech now. Cutting edge then. Reports say McLaren still maintains a stash of old laptops to talk to these cars. Because when you build 106 one-offs, you don't send owners to a franchise dealer. You bring the mothership to them. But the obsession wasn't only inside. It lived in the engine bay, and that's where the F1 broke the rules and the record. But that wasn't the whole story. On a long, lonely runway in 1998, factory test driver Andy Wallace pushed the F1 past a number no one thought a naturally aspirated road car could reach. 240.1 miles per hour. No turbos. No superchargers. No exotic hybrid push. Just 6.1 liters of BMW S70 and 2 V12 Fury, breathing air and burning fuel the old way to around 618 horsepower, 627 PS. The road car wasn't built for top speed runs. It was built to feel alive. And yet it rewrote the record book. Since then, other cars have gone faster. They did it with more cylinders, more displacement, more boost, more everything. The F1 remained the last NA production car to wear that crown. That distinction matters. Its purity, quantified. The speedometer on an F1 stretches to 240 plus not as a joke but as a target that one example obliterated. The world took notice. Collectors never forgot. But the number that truly changed the F1's fate wasn't 240. It was 24. As in the 24 hours of Le Mans. And what happened next shocked everyone. 1995. The 24 hours of Le Mans. The F1 GTR rolls in with headlights, mirrors, and a recognizable silhouette. You could put plates on it and drive home. It lined up against prototype race cars built exclusively to conquer Sartre. It won. Outright. The victory wasn't luck. It was engineering and restraint. A car that didn't cook its brakes, didn't boil its driver, and didn't punish the team with fragile complexity. That V12, detuned for the GTR, just kept breathing. In the rain, when others slipped or broke, the F1's balance did the talking. One team. One event. And a reputation was forged in 24 hours that 1,000 marketing campaigns couldn't buy. McLaren built a tribute. 5 of them. They called it the F1 LM. But the LM story is more complicated than 5 cars, end of chapter. This is where the myths begin, and where a fight over definitions still riles the faithful. After Le Mans 1995, McLaren created the F1 LM. 5 road cars built to celebrate that victory. Think of the LM as the F1 road car with its race-bred heart uncorked. Around 680 horsepower. Less sound deadening. Extra cooling. The high downforce kit. A bigger rear wing and more aero bits to glue it down. It was lighter than the standard F1 and more feral. An orange exclamation point in a world of commas. Numbers at a glance. F1 road car. About 618 horsepower. Around 1,140 kilograms dry. 3-seat layout. Minimal aids. Center seat. F1 GTR. Race car, detuned to meet class rules, stripped, track setup, short tail, 95 to 96, and long tail, 97 evolutions. F1 LM, road legal homage to the GTR success, with that near 680 HP, unrestricted GTR-derived engine and HDK aero. Now the controversy. A few standard F1 road cars were later upgraded by McLaren through MSO, with LM engines and the HDK. Auctions often call them LM spec. And that single hyphen can change a price by millions. What's the debate? Purists argue the 5 true LMs, born as LMs, are a separate species, full stop. Others say an MSO-engined road car with LM heart and aero is even more usable while being nearly as ferocious, sometimes more desirable to drive. Collectors and catalogs love the LM spec tag. Forums love to argue about it. Rumors suggest 2 of the 5 LMs originally went to Brunei in unique colors instead of the famous orange, rarely seen in public since. Reports also claim a few private LM or LM spec deals have happened in the mid-8 figures. Unverified, but the chatter refuses to die. One more twist from the race side. An F1 GTR, chassis 11R, was reportedly acquired by Mercedes-Benz as a development mule for the CLK GTR program. Same era, same mission, different badge. The rationale? Carbon tub performance, V12 packaging, and benchmark pace. According to period accounts, that mule clocked lap times that spurred Stuttgart forward, and allegedly met a nasty accident in testing before being rebuilt by McLaren later on. If true, it's the motorsport world's equivalent of reading your rival's diary. And we still haven't touched the strangest F1 details, the things that make you blink and ask, they did what? But that wasn't the whole story. Start with the gold. Not gold-colored. Gold. Around 0.8 ounces of it in thin foil lining the engine bay as a heat shield. Why gold? Thermal reflectivity. When you're building the ultimate road car, pretentious becomes practical. Open the little side hatches and you'll find actual luggage bays because Murray insisted it had to be a car you could use. You might also find the battery, a race heritage plaque tucked away, and on some cars, that ancient modem hookup for remote factory diagnostics. Yes, it looks like it time-traveled from a 90s office. Pop the nose on certain cars and you'll see a special ultralight Kenwood CD changer made just for the F1. The standard unit was too heavy. Even the toolkit feels like a magic trick. Titanium pieces that seem to float in your fingers. The doors are butterfly, but the real trick is practical. The pull handles you use to close them are up by the roof where your hand naturally goes when you sit in the center. Clever solves glamorous. Look behind you. The rear intake splits the backlight, so the F1 uses 2 rear view mirrors inside. Double mirrors. Single sun visor. It's almost funny, except it's pure function. The stalks for signals and wipers? Pulled from BMW parts bins. The side mirrors? Volkswagen Corrado items. The window glass? Split pane so the lower half drops, beefing up strength for those 200 miles per hour days. Everything that needed to be special was special. Everything that didn't, wasn't. But for all its brilliance, the F1's human stories are just as wild. Sometimes expensive, sometimes humbling, sometimes both. And what happened next would stun even the most jaded collectors. Rowan Atkinson famously binned his F1, twice, then had it painstakingly rebuilt. The reported insurance payout was eye-watering, but the car was too special to die. It returned, better than ever, and eventually sold at a staggering figure. Proof that a great story can actually raise a legend's value. Elon Musk told the world about crashing his F1 in the early PayPal days, by his own account, uninsured, and after saying, "Watch this. No driver aids. No forgiveness. Just physics." The car lived to tell the tale. So did the legend. Jay Leno drives his sparingly but often enough to keep it alive. Sunday mornings. Empty roads. No valet stands. No nightclub entrances. Respect is part of the ritual. Behind the scenes, the costs are real. Fuel bladders with replacement intervals. Period-correct tires that needed reissues. Service visits that involve specialists flying in with sacred laptops. Reports claim six-figure maintenance isn't unusual when the big jobs come due. It's not a Camry. It's a carbon goddess that asks for tithe. And about that dev mule, multiple accounts say Mercedes quietly used an F1 GTR as a measuring stick while developing the CLK GTR, even lapping quicker at a key test track before an accident wrote the mule off and sent it back to Woking for repairs. Again, the details vary depending on who you ask, but the story refuses to die. Meanwhile, the market ascended. Public sales over $20 million for road cars with stories. LM spec cars sold for dizzy sums. Rumors of true LMs trading in private at figures you don't say out loud. If you know, you know. Yet the money isn't what keeps the F1 in the conversation. It's what it represents in a world that forgot how to be light. But that wasn't the whole story. You can chase a higher top speed. You can throw down a quicker Nürburgring lap. You can add 1,000 horsepower worth of electric push and trick active aero. You cannot replicate how an F1 makes you feel. The needle flickers. The V12's throttle response is immediate. Steering loads up like it's wired to your wrists. You sit where a driver should sit. No filters. No padding. No artificial heroics. And yet it's stable. Friendly. Usable. A 3-seat supercar that treats everyday roads like a playground and Le Mans like a dare. Its spiritual successor isn't a new McLaren. It's Gordon Murray's own T.50, once again light, central seat, NA V12, chasing feel instead of numbers. That's not a coincidence. It's a confession. Murray wasn't done saying what he wanted to say. The LM is the exclamation point. Rarer. Angrier. 5 true cars. A handful of LM spec conversions that keep auctioneers busy and forums noisier. A single color that became a calling card, historic/papaya orange. Yet whispers say not all LMs wore it when new. Collectors will debate purity forever. The rest of us just want to know one thing. Is there any world where an analog car like this happens again? If regulations, emissions, and market demands are the answer, probably not. If soul is the metric, the F1 already won. Decades ago. And that wasn't even the whole story. Conclusion, the question that still keeps car people up at night. The McLaren F1 and the F1 LM aren't just fast. They're a thesis. A car that weighed less, thought smarter, and did the impossible. Beat race cars on their turf, then outran everything on the road without a single turbo in sight. The F1 road car gives you the purity. That V12, that center seat, that eerie feeling that 30 miles per hour can be just as special as 130. The F1 LM gives you the poster. Louder, rarer, bolder. The 5-car statement piece for people who want the story with extra exclamation marks. The LM spec road cars live in the middle. The irresistible remix that ignites 8-figure arguments and wins them anyway. Here's the thought to take with you. If someone handed you the keys to one of the 106, which would you actually drive? The standard F1 you could thread through a city and a continent? The GTR with its battle scars and endurance pedigree? Or the LM, the most distilled road-going warning shot McLaren ever fired? There's no wrong answer, but there is a right feeling. And it starts in the center seat, hand on a simple key, no screens asking for a software update. No traction nanny waiting to catch you. Just a V12, gold in the engine bay, and a road that suddenly feels too small. What would you choose? LM colors / Brunei. Reports claim 2 of the 5 F1 LMs were delivered in unique non-orange colors to the Brunei collection. This has not been comprehensively verified with public factory records. Sightings are extremely rare. Private LM/LM spec sale prices. Multiple outlets and market watchers suggest mid-8-figure transactions in recent years, but exact figures and chassis identities are often confidential. LM spec definition. Auction listings and community sources vary in how they use this term. In general, it refers to road F1s upgraded by McLaren/MSO with the LM's unrestricted engine and the high downforce kit. Some cars have partial upgrades. Always chassis verify. Mercedes Dev Mule story. Widely retold in period and modern reports regarding an F1 GTR used as a development benchmark for the CLK GTR program. Details and timelines can differ across sources. The gist, use of an F1 as a comparative tool, remains a persistent narrative.